Yes, good evening, everybody. This presentation I make for the second time. And after the first time I made the presentation, immediately the people called anti-cultists, they immediately attacked me, saying that I'm spreading the conspiracy theories for false news. Of course, that's everybody accusing everybody. But it means that they hit the nerve. That is like the elements that they have found, and I will read to you immediately. That is something very important, and most probably is 100% true, and even more. That is, most of this information is closed. It's very difficult to really to have more details and more confirmation, but certainly the outlines is there. So you heard how Massimo presented the Unification Church case in Japan, and it may seem to you that is crazy, or maybe Japan went crazy, and maybe it's just in Japan, and etc. But the problem is that now the persecution of religious movements is really growing in most of the countries. And what is most upsetting, that many so-called democratic countries, or the liberal countries, they join the same action. Now about the terms is, in English language, the word cult is attributed to the religions, to the spiritual movements, right? So everything that is connected to our spirituality. And if we remember the Article 5 of the, oh my God, maybe mistaken, 18 of Human Rights Convention, it's I don't have the specific note, but it's very important to remember. Oh, sorry. That is everybody's right to believe and not to believe. But every time that people, they belong to the religious or spiritual group, there is another group called anti-cultists, and that's what I will talk a lot in my speech, who immediately jump and attack on different grounds. And now the funny part comes. Funny is not funny because people are affected, but funny in the sense that I will give the examples of how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 countries, which are totally different. It's a different cultural background, different religious situation, different political perceptions. And at the end, I will try to show you that there is a very big common ground between them. And that's what is really concerning. And it raises many questions. And like Unification Church case, it's a dramatic situation. And it's getting more and more dramatic in many other countries as well. So I will talk about the specific cases, the situation of the anti-cultists, because that's what I wanted to tell you, that those who fight against the religious movements, using the politicians, using the media, using the Netflix, and etc., they are anti-cultists. And when you will hear me reading about the anti-cultists, keep in mind that these people who fight, who are the enemies of the people who believe in religious or spiritual things. So I will talk about the situation of anti-cultists in United States, Russia, China, France, Argentina, and Japan. You agree with me that the countries are totally different, right? What it may be in common: United States, Russia, China, France, Argentina, and Japan. It's almost nothing. So, about the United States. The anti-cult movement was born in the United States in the late 60s and 70s. These were the year when, like, the year of the big changes, when and you also, most probably many of you remember, that it was like, it started to expand the new religious movements, the hippie movements, and etc. And thousands of young Americans, primary college students, these movements appears exotic, new, exciting, but to their parents who belonged to the traditional religious movements, as like Christian, maybe the Judaism, and etc., for them it's this interest of their children to the new religious movement looked dangerous, sinister, and they could not really comprehend it. Some psychologists and some lawyers, they were explaining that the choice of these young women and men had not been free, no matter what they told to the parents. They had been brainwashed by cults. You already a little bit heard about this brainwashing and the cults of Massimo's explanation about the situation in Japan. So, and what could the parents do? It soon became clear that the American legal system would resist proposals for new laws against cults and lawsuits based on the dubious theories of brainwashing. The programming was also declared illegal. Thus, the American anti-cult movement moved from courts of law to the courts of public opinion, which exactly is still happening right now very much, as it managed to persuade hundreds of journalists that stories about evil cults, brainwashing, their followers were sexy and would sell well. Recently, cable TV has emerged as the media most interested in an alliance with anti-cultists, since its market is highly competitive and needs scandals to sell. Netflix, in particular, has become specialized in producing lurid series about cults and their sins. At the core of this version of anti-cultism is individualistic idea of freedom. Surrendering a substantial part of our liberty to a religious organization or leader is not regarded as acceptable choice. It is denounced as a bounded choice from which cultists should be liberated, but they want it or not. And the American model wants to protect cultists from themselves. Now we move to China. So China is a completely different context. China boasts that it has the largest anti-cultist movement in the world. No doubt. Indeed, the China Anti-Cult Association has local organizations and representatives in every area of the country, including remote villages and millions of members. However, it is not really a voluntary or private group. It is a branch of CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, directly organized and controlled by party bureaucrats. Cult in the English official name, China Anti-Cult Association, translated to Chinese is Sijiao. In fact, Sijiao, since the Middle Ages, is an expression used in the Chinese Empire to indicate heterodox religious movements. Heterodox always had a political meaning to designate an organization that does not support the state and its leadership. The later being incarnated in the emperor in past centuries and Xi Jinping today. And I will again read the sentence because it's very important. Is an organization that does not support the state and its leadership. And I believe when you now transport yourself in Japan, what is happening with the Unification Church? That is not really in alignment of some politicians and their wishes. So the Chinese model, while borrowing from the Western anti-cult rhetoric, does not protect the individuals from themselves, but the state from the cults or Shenjiao. If you're active in any capacity in a movement listed as Shenjiao, in China, you go to jail. And we have Chinese friends here who are the refugees from one of the religious group that is persecuted, and if the Chinese, if some Chinese official will learn that there is a member of that group, the person will go to jail. There is no questions asked, just because the person belongs to that group. While the Anti-Cult Association organizes massive propaganda campaigns, ultimately, the main tool China relies on to eradicate cults is not propaganda, but the police. In fact, a specialized anti-Sejao police with has more than 6,000 agents. So, now we move to China. The Russian model of anti-cultism has in common with its Chinese counterpart to use the police to crack down on cults, but here is an important difference. The leaders of China Anti-Cult Association are atheists. The leaders of the Russian anti-cult movement are Orthodox, and very often Orthodox priests or laypersons employed and paid by the Russian Orthodox Church. Cults, as it has already happened in 2017 to the Jehovah's Witnesses, are raided by the police, declared extremist, are liquidated by courts of law, which played a key role in the anti-cult fight in Russia. Their properties are confiscated, while the latter measures can hide the transfer of prime real estate from cults to government-controlled oligarchs, or even relatives of the top leaders. What the laws protect is the religious monopoly of the Russian Orthodox Church, which in turn lives in a symbiotic situation with the Putin's regime. You would say, okay, China, Russia are not democracies, so we don't care. We go now to beautiful, democratic Western country called France. You will be surprised. This year, France made its bad law of 2001 against the cults even worse, making psychological subjection allegedly practiced by the cults a crime punished with heavy jail penalties. The new law also reinforces the role of the Miviludes, the government agency whose mandate is to combat cultic deviances, and also acts as an ATM machine distributing taxpayers' money to private anti-cult organizations. Followed on a smaller scale by Belgium, France is one of the rare countries that uses as its main weapon against the cults a specialized governmental agency. What France wants to protect is clearly indicated by another law passed in 2021 against separatism. Although the law primarily targeted Islam, the government explained it also offered a framework to fight the cults. And is, at its final name indicated, the law wants to protect the Republican values against those who would deny them, at least implicitly, by joining a separatist organization, meaning one that lives separately from the majority and according to different values. This is regarded as not tolerable in France. Now we go to another continent, Argentina. In Argentina, an anti-cult movement existed for decades, but remained comparatively small and not very influential. It suffered a crucial defeat when the first case against the Buenos Aires yoga school collapsed in 2000. However, more recently, Argentina has emerged as a laboratory where a new strategy is being tested. Cults are attacked through the use of laws against trafficking. It is argued that just as prostitutes and immigrant slave laborers are victims of traffic, even if they may not realize so are the cultists. So meaning people who belong to the religious or spiritual groups. The fact that victims, so-called victims, deny that they are victims is thus regarded as irrelevant. Based on these theories, the Buenos Aires yoga school was raided again in 2022. Although in some anti-trafficking cases connected with religion, courts have ruled against the prosecutors, the model is tested in Argentina with the strong support of international anti-cultists. They have started cases claiming that all cultists are trafficked in several other countries, including the United States and the United Kingdom, and are very interested in, and now we are very interested in the outcome of the yoga school case in Buenos Aires. So, and Japan, I don't know, maybe I will not repeat because Massimo already extensively explained to you what is happening in Japan, right? So, now you have these different countries, totally different, it seems not connected situations, but there is a line going through all these countries, and that is called anti-cultists. And I will now try to show to you the international cooperation and impact on the public opinion, on media, on politicians, and we see the results as it is in actually in Japan. There is an organization called FECRIS. It's International European Federation of Centers of Research and Information on Cults and Sects. As early as 1994, several anti-cult organizations came together and they established an umbrella organization. And that umbrella organization was called FECRIS. And the headquarters of this organization is Paris. Paris, note that. It has correspondent organizations outside of Europe too. It is and always was financed by the French government. For more than 25 years, one of its largest and most active components, which also contributed financially, was its Russian branch, which was controlled by the Russian Orthodox Church and financed by the Russian government. In March 2023, reasons connected with the war in Ukraine suggested a separation from the Russian branch, although forms of cooperation have continued discreetly even after that date. FECRIS has also supported anti-cult campaigns in China and has been visited by Japanese anti-cultists since the past century. Its propaganda can be found behind anti-cult activities and proposals all over the world. FECRIS also cooperates with the American-based ICSA, International Cultic Studies Association, as evidenced by the conference held last July in Barcelona, putting together ICSA, FECRIS, and Japanese anti-cultists. Although it should be acknowledged that some American ICSA leaders are somewhat more modern than their American colleagues. Now there is another organization called Invictus. Much more discreet than FECRIS, but not less dangerous, is a group, Invictus, undefeated in Latin. And headquarters of this organization is University of Barcelona, with the ambition of putting together those in the academic minority who support brainwashing theories and the anti-cult movement. It was also represented at the Barcelona, and they were represented at the Barcelona conference. None of these members is a scholar, and those who participated and called themselves scholars, none of its members is a scholar or of religion. All of them, they are psychologists who still support brainwashing theories. Interestingly, one of them is voila, Japanese psychology professor, an anti-cult activist called Kimiaki Nishida. He is the person who drafted in Japan, after the Abe assassination, these controversial regulations on religious abuse of children. His role was explicitly criticized in the United Nations statement. While Invictus is in part a money-making enterprise, using the support of psychology schools in several universities to get European funds, it also plays a role in organizing attacks against the Jehovah's Witnesses and the Family Federation, and in trying to keep alive the discredited brainwashing theories. Another actor, French government. The French government devotes a specific budget to promote the activities of its anti-cult agency Miviludes abroad through the French diplomacy. Even Argentinian anti-cultists have boasted about their contacts with the French embassy. Japanese anti-cultist relationship with France started in the late 80s and continued to this very day. This year, Japanese anti-cult scholars have visited Miviludes twice, claiming they want to apply the French model in Japan. From the point of view of France, this activity is primarily defensive and aimed at countering American criticism of French anti-cult campaigns, but it also promotes French grandeur, as local politicians have often hailed Miviludes as a model to the whole world should imitate. And then another actor, Russian and Chinese disinformation. Research has traced fake news targeting the Jehovah's Witnesses, Scientology, the Unification Church, to Russian disinformation TV channels such as Sputnik. They are also spread on social media by both Russian and Chinese trolls. Like France, these governments are interested in defending their repression of cults at home against international criticism. But there is also an interest in creating disorder and social unrest, which has led to increased troll activities after Russia's invasion of Ukraine. In Japan, solid evidence has emerged connecting the attacks against the Unification Church, who was active in political anti-communist campaigns and the very foundation of the Japanese anti-cult movement in the 80s, to the Japanese Communist Party and left-wing organizations supported by China, at the time by the Soviet Union. Another player, Netflix. Although other TV networks have now jumped on a lucrative bandwagon, Netflix remains the strongest media partner of anti-cultists. Headquartered in America, it has branches in 45 countries and some 300 million subscribers. Its branches obviously communicate with each other, and we have seen vitriolic series against cults produced in South Korea, Mexico, and the United States, and distributed worldwide. Few reputation can resist these concerted attacks. Anti-trafficking agencies, obviously fighting the international traffic of human beings is a very important work. However, it is also true that anti-trafficking agencies are competing with other branches of the governments for funds and have a vested interest in continuously expanding their sphere of activity. Although some Argentinian excesses have been criticized, ultimately there is an international anti-trafficking lobby that looks with interest at the experiment in Argentina of expanding the mandate of anti-trafficking prosecutors to cults and defend these prosecutors when they are attacked internationally. It is probably behind some strange and misleading American coverage of the Buenos Aires school case, including in the New York Times. Surprise, surprise. The trafficking argument is not used in Argentina only. It is surfacing in the US and Europe as well, and it would not be surprising to see it will be used one day in Japan as well. Private donors. American scholar Holly Falk is conducting a study about private donations supporting the anti-cult campaigns. It is a study in progress, but as presented in international conference, it shows that very large amount of money were donated by certain billionaires and large corporations. Some may be ideologically motivated, but it's also clear that pharmaceutical companies, for example, are interested in supporting actions against Scientology, which in turn runs successful campaigns exposing the negative effects of psychiatric drugs and other movements' critical attitudes towards the certain medicines. This lobby action obtained a spectacular success this year in France, where a new Article 5 was introduced in the anti-cult law, punishing with long jail terms those who, for religious or other reasons, dissuade their followers from using medicines and vaccines generally recommended by the medical profession. Again, it would be interesting to ask the questions how the campaigns against cults are funded in Japan. So, and now I came with the conclusion. The first conclusion is there is not a single hidden hand guiding diverse national anti-cult campaign throughout the world. However, there are visible and less visible international forces promoting them, whose role should not be underestimated. The international action against religious liberty requires an international reaction in favor of it, which is particularly urgent today with Japan going through what has emerged as the worst religious liberty crisis of the century in a democratic country. As anti-cultists join forces putting together atheists and the Russian Orthodox priests, communist activists, big pharma corporate, who overcome their different ideologies to unite against what they perceive as a common enemy, so women and men of goodwill should learn to cooperate, going beyond their theological differences and affirming freedom of religion or belief as universal value. Thank you very much for your attention.